What's going on, people? It's Greg here with another Excel VBA tutorial video. Today we'll be going over how to auto-filter data, copy and paste it to a new sheet, and then save that sheet to a specified location. So let's get into it. Alright, I've got three windows here. On the upper left, I got my VBA editor. On the right, I've got a data set of regions and countries. On the bottom left, I've got my test folder. And what we're going to do is filter by region. So let me go ahead and create a drop down and put it here in cell F2. So what I'm going to do is go here where my regions are, hit Control Shift down to grab all the regions, and I'll just copy and paste these over to sheet 2. And then I'm gonna go ahead and go to data, and then here to remove duplicates. Hit OK. So now I've got 11 unique values, and this will be my list of regions. So I'll go ahead and change this tab to regions list. And for cell F2, I'll go to data validation and then allow list, and then my source data is going to be here. Press enter. OK. And now I've got my drop down. Okay, so we can go ahead and hide this. We don't need this anymore. So let's go ahead and call sheet 1 raw data, and then we'll call sheet 3 output. And let's start writing our code. So we'll call this sub filter, copy, paste, save. All right. And let's declare our variables. We've got our region, and that's going to be a string. Then we're going to use the raw data tab. So we'll just call that raw, and it'll be a worksheet. So that references this tab here, and then this tab, the output tab, we'll just call that out, and that'll also be a worksheet. And then we're also going to have two count variables that are going to count the columns and the rows of our data, so we know how big it is. So we're going to have count col for counting the columns. We'll just make that an integer, and then count row for the rows. That'll also be an integer. So let's set raw equal to this workbook, sheets, and then we want the raw data tab, and then we'll set out equal to this workbook, sheets, output. And what I could also do is change this to 1 and 2, and that way I can change the names of the tabs to whatever I want, and it'll still be applied to the right variable. Only issue is if I decide to rearrange the order of the tabs, then I won't be referencing the right sheet. So for this example, I'll just go ahead and leave the names in here. And then for the region, we're going to set that equal to, since we have the raw tab set, we're going to just say raw, and then we'll reference the range that we want, and the range is just going to be F2. And we want the text in that cell. So the region is just whatever's here. All right. Now, let's write a comment here. We're going to determine the size of the range, so the size of this data here. And in order to do that, we're going to make sure that this sheet, the raw data sheet, is activated. So let's just do raw activate. So just to reiterate, whenever I say type raw, that means I'm just referencing the raw data tab, and whenever I type out, I'm referencing the output tab, because we declared, or we set them equal to this at the top. All right, so we'll do our column count. It's going to be worksheet function count range, and we're going to be starting at A4. So because the range doesn't start at the top, we're going to make sure we reference this cell here, A4. So we got A4, and then range A4 again, and then we want to, because we're counting the columns, we're going to be counting to the right. So XL to right, 1, 2, 3, and then for the rows, we're going to do something similar. Only issue with the rows, because we have these three row gap, we're going to have to add 3 in order to make sure we're accounting for the very last row. So the count starts at row 4, and because it starts at row 4, I won't be able to hit these last 3 unless I add 3. However, if we were starting at A1, if all the data was at A1, I wouldn't have to worry about that. And likewise, if it was at A7, I'd have to count 6 or add 6. And we're not doing to the right, we're doing XL down because we're counting down. All right, so now this comment's going to be, we're going to filter the data on the raw data tab. So in order to do that, we're just going to type raw, and then the range where we're starting, which is A4, and then auto filter, and then the field I want is field 2, or because we're going to be auto filtering by the region. So I'll do :2, and then my criteria 1 : is just going to be the region, and the region is what we set here. It's just going to be whatever's in F2. So let's go ahead and test that out now. And you see, we've got a filter by Latin America and the Caribbean. Do it again, and we're good to go there. So let's keep on going with our code. So now let's copy and paste to the output tab. In order to do that, we're going to select our range. So we're going to want to start here in A4, and what we're going to do is use cells, and the parameters are just like XY coordinates, except they're kind of flipped. So we want down 4 and then 1 is where we're starting, and then cells, so that means we're going to be here, so 4 1's here, and then we want to go all the way down and all the way to the right, so you want to hit this cell. If you can see it here, we want this one, so that's going to be T231. I think T is the 20th letter of the alphabet. An easy way to determine that is just to start at T and then hit Control Shift left. Wait. Sorry. Yeah, Control Shift left. And now we've got the count at the bottom. The count's 20. So we know that, well, I guess it doesn't matter, right? Because it's dynamic. So we're just using the count, the row count. So ignore what I just said. Sorry about that. So we're going to do count row and then count column. So that'll give us that bottom right point. All right, so now want to close that. And then special cells. Excel cell type is what we want. Cell type visible. And it pops up right here. And then you want to copy. So you want to, after we filter, we want to copy the visible cells. And then we're going to paste them to the output tab. And we're just going to paste them to cell A1. So that's simple. We'll just do A1, paste special, and then we'll paste the values. All right. And then we'll make sure to turn off the cut copy mode. I'll show you. Otherwise, let me comment that out. So if I were to do that now, otherwise we're left with this. So we want to make sure that's off, so we're not wasting resources. So we're good there. All right. Let's clear this. All right, let's keep on chugging along. So now I kind of ruined it, but let me run it again, and then we're going to need to clear. We're going to need to show the data, so we're going to need to take the filter off. So we're going to show the data and remove the filter. So with the raw data tab, I'm going to hit show all data, and then auto filter mode, switch that to off, so false. And then we're going to end our with. So let's run that from here. So now it's off. Back to square one with that. And then if we go to the output tab, you see it looks kind of crazy. So let's work on some formatting. So without, we're going to activate it first, and then select all the cells. And then we're going to auto fit the columns. Oops. Got to make sure to end the width. So now it looks a lot better. Everything's spread out nicely. And you saw how everything's highlighted here. Let's go ahead and select range 1, A1. There we go. So by selecting A1, we don't have to worry about everything being highlighted. Let's run it one more time just so you can see. See, it's just saving resources, I guess. All right. Now we're going to copy this sheet so that we can save it into this folder. So one more thing. So copy. And let's get up out of that. So now we're just going to save and close the new workbook. So now, so when we run this, let's run this one more time. And we've got this new workbook that was created from this sheet here, right? You see it's the Near East. And what we're going to want to do is give it a name and then save it and then close it. So that will become the active workbook. So we're going to use active workbook and then save as. All right, the file name, let's go with, so : equal. First, let me right click here where I want to save it. So I'm going to right click, copy address as text. I can copy and paste that right in here. So it's going to be saved in the users folder, Gregor Waffles, documents, YouTube videos, test. And then another slash there. And we're running out of space. So I'm going to continue this line by doing quotation, space, ampersand, space, underscore. And now we'll call this file region report, and then put a dash in there and a space, and then we're going to use the region name. So we're going to reference region here, this variable. So region, and then the file type is just going to be .xlsx. All right. So then we're going to save it, and we're going to want to close it too. So active workbook, close. So let's go ahead and run it. And you see it's got saved here. Open it up, looks good. So let's go with this one here. Let's run it. It's got saved, but we're going to run into an issue. Let me show you. If I were to choose Oceania, for example, and I run it, let's open the file up. You can actually see it here. We still have got the sub-Saharan Africa data here because we never cleared the data prior to filling out this sheet or copy and paste into the sheet. So let's make sure to remove the data. Clear previous data. Let's do that at the top actually. So without cells, clear contents, and then we should be good to go. So let's try that again. Let me delete this one. So it looks a lot better now. And if I open up the file, good to go. And another thing, in order to prevent from seeing all that happening, so like if I run it, you see a lot of movement going on. What we can do is use application, screen updating. We can make that false, and then just make sure we turn it back on at the end. That way when we run it, it's clean. But that brings us to another point. If we have a file that exists in here already, so all right, let me run it without it. So if I run it on another region, let's go with Asia. It's quiet, right? Not a lot of movement. But if I run it again, we'll see a pop-up asking if I want to save or overwrite on the existing file. In order to prevent that from happening, we can do Application.ScreenUpdating equals false. So let me comment that out first. So just so we can see what happens, it's going to ask me if I want to replace it. So I can do yes. If I hit no, I'll get an error. But in order to prevent that entirely, we can just do Application.ScreenUpdating false, so that it won't access, it'll just overwrite automatically, and then turn it back on at the end, and we're good to go, just like that. So yeah, that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Have a good one.